As the fall semester continues, Texas Tech's COVID-19 numbers are trending downward. Coming up, MCTV's Kritzia Williams has a look at how the university is doing everything it can to help students stay safe, both before and after they test positive.
The Tech campus has looked a little more normal this week after several groups hosted a series of in-person events here on campus. We'll have a look at several opportunities for students to get involved in the university community next.
And the Texas Tech Athletics Department is once again making national news, but for all the wrong reasons. We'll have the details on the recent departure of head softball coach Adrian Gregory in sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Evan Ray.
And I'm Kamryn Mendoza.
It's been 6 weeks since Texas Tech officially resumed in-person instruction for the fall semester. Since then, the number of COVID-19 infections on campus have slowly been on the decline, with less cases reported each week. Yesterday, university officials reported 42 new infections, with 34 of those coming from the student population and 8 from employees. With those new cases, the total number of cases this week sits at 104. In comparison, the university reported 123 total new infections at the same time last week. The decrease of COVID-19 cases can be attributed to multiple factors, but as MCTV's Kritzia Williams tells us, one of the biggest forms of prevention may be happening after a student tests positive.
Thanks, guys. Preventative actions have been put into effect to create a safe place here on campus, with wearing masks being one of the most important.
Really, since the summer, we've worked hard to create atmospheres in the classroom, in the laboratory, in the residential life settings, in the commons areas that would be safe. And we've worked hard to institute public health best practices that would reduce the risk of spread. Namely the physical distancing at least 6 feet from others, the guidance for strict hand washing and frequent hand washing, and also for masking.
Since the beginning of fall semester, there have been a fluctuation in the number of COVID-19 cases diagnosed, recovered, and active. But what specifically happens to students that contract COVID-19? Affected students and Dr. Edwards say hotels, dorm rooms, and other opportunities to go home are all options for those who become ill.
Student housing contacted me and I let the school know that I tested positive. It's like a self-report online with the dean of students. And they called me and they said, like, hey, we have a hotel you can stay in. We'll provide you food through your meal plan. If you don't want to do that, like, you're more than welcome to go home. We just know that that might not be the best option for a lot of people just because of how far away some people might live. Then when I got to the hotel, there was a baggie and it had a thermometer, hand sanitizer, like tissue paper, like a couple other things just to help, and face masks. And then they actually contacted me the next morning asking me if I had any food allergies, all that kind of stuff. And then they sent me over a box of food.
Sophomore Adrian Clasian says with hotels being a limited option for the university, some students were instructed to stay in their dorm rooms. He also says food, drinks, and consistent checkups were provided by Tech to help get through this tough time.
Well, I had to stay in my room for 10 days, quarantine. And, you know, the 10 days went by, I'm back in class, I'm feeling completely fine now. The health services on campus, they would reach out to me every, like, 2 days after I tested positive just to ask how I was feeling.
Between free testing and encouraging mask wearing inside and outside of the buildings, providing for those who have contracted COVID-19 and more, Dr. Edwards is hoping that these efforts will encourage students to take precaution and create a safe space. For MCTV, I'm Kritzia Williams. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kritzia. Despite the threat of COVID-19, several campus groups have slowly begun to offer in-person events and activity options here on campus. And with one of those options, gave students a chance to learn all about what the university has to offer. The Texas Techspo kicked off at 11 a.m. this morning in the Sub-West Plaza. During the event, students could stop by and meet up with representatives from various departments to learn about resources available here at the university. Groups such as the Center for Campus Life, the Office of Study Abroad, and Rec Sports were all on hand to answer questions about free options available to students. The Texas Texpo is a biannual event put on by the Office of Transition and Engagement in the fall and the spring. Along with the traditional in-person event, this year also features a virtual option through the Transition and Engagement website. Just visit studentengagement.ttu.edu for more information.
If you had a chance to catch the debate earlier this week, then you know the 2020 presidential election is only a few weeks away. But if you haven't had the chance to register, you still have a few more days to make sure your vote counts. Next Monday, October 5th, is the last day to register to vote in Texas. With that in mind, several campus ministries set up shop in the Sub West Plaza yesterday afternoon to encourage students to have their voice heard. Deputy registrars were available starting at noon to help students legally register in time for November's election. The registration process requires potential voters to provide a legal ID, and then they can fill out a voter registration application to be filled with their county of residence. Once the registration has been processed, residents of Lubbock County can then vote here on campus or at any of the other local voting locations during the presidential election. Wednesday's registration drive wrapped up yesterday afternoon, but you still have from now until Monday to fill out and submit an application. For more information on how to register to vote in Texas or to check your registration status, visit votetexas.gov.
Earlier this week, temperatures dropped dramatically after a cold front moved through the South Plains. But by yesterday, it felt like summer made another return to the area as highs reached back into the lower 90s. So should we expect these roller coaster conditions to continue into the first week of October? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us in the studio with the latest look at the forecast. Madison?
Thanks, guys. Well, we did see those drop in temperatures earlier this week, but slowly and surely the temperature has climbed up into what has been more common for this time of year so far, which is highs in the 80s to upper 70s with lows dropping into the 40s and 50s. So it doesn't quite feel like fall outside yet. We're still dealing with some warmer temperatures. But even though it's not feeling like fall outside, it still is feeling really nice. Looking outside today at our MCTV tower cam, we can see that there is not a cloud in sight today. The skies are big and sunny and beautiful, which is the way I do like to see them, if I do say so myself, and the temperature has been really nice out there. For today, the high temperature climbed up to 78 degrees. It is a little bit breezy outside with the wind coming from the east at 15 to 25 miles per hour, so it's a little gusty out there, but today has been mostly sunny and warm conditions. That wind isn't going to dissipate as we move into tonight. It's going to be now coming from the east by southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Clear and cool conditions, and our low temperature is going to be dropping down to 48. Now, looking at our cool temperatures for tonight in the South Plains as a whole, we're going to be seeing slightly cooler temperatures out there to the west of us. Out there, Muleshore, Morton is going to be experiencing temperatures closer to the lower to mid 40s, while Lubbock proper is going to be experiencing temperatures around 50 degrees, so it's still a little bit chilly outside if you're going out this evening. Looking into tomorrow's temperatures, though, we're going to be seeing the temperature rise all the way up to 80s for the Lubbock area, and most of the South Plains is going to be experiencing temperatures in the lower 80s and upper 70s. So again, doesn't feel like fall, but it is a good day to get outside. But the temperature is going to drop as we move into tomorrow evening, and again, we're going to be seeing some slightly cooler temperatures out there to the west of us, but our cooler temperatures will be a little bit warmer tomorrow night than they are tonight, with the coolest temperatures out at Friona being 47 and Morton sitting at 49 degrees. So a little bit warmer, cooler temperatures. For Friday, we're going to be experiencing a high of 83 degrees, a low of 55, and a southerly wind coming at 10 to 20 miles per hour, but it is going to be sunny with a few spotted clouds out there. For Saturday, we're going to be experiencing a high of 88 degrees, so climbing all the way up almost back to the 90s, with a low of 51 and a southwesterly wind coming at 10 to 20 miles per hour. And then, of course, we're going to have our sunny Sunday. For Sunday, it's going to be mostly clear skies, very similar to today with little cloud cover, with a high of 79 degrees, a low of 52, and an easterly wind coming at 10 to 15 miles per hour. So again, not feeling like fall. I know that I want to be wearing sweaters and getting hot drinks as much as the next person, but we live in West Texas and the weather here can be a little bit unpredictable, especially when we are experiencing changing seasons. So don't worry, the cooler temperatures are on their way, and I'm sure by the time January rolls around, we'll be begging for temperatures to be back up in the 80s. So enjoy the warm temperatures while they're still here and maybe get outside this weekend. For MCTV Weather, I'm Madison Hartin. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Madison. Earlier this semester, the Office of International Affairs announced that study abroad trips would resume in January of 2021. And if you are a student that would like to spend spring in another country, time is running very short for you to take advantage of that opportunity. Today is the deadline to submit an application for study abroad trips taking place during the spring semester and spring break. There are multiple trips being offered by programs around campus during both the spring semester and break, but some options may not be available this year due to COVID-19 concerns or capacity limitations. If you're interested in applying, you can visit studyabroad.ttu.edu and fill out an online application before midnight tonight. Just click on the Start Here button located near the top of the page. Even if you are not able to study abroad next semester, there are still dozens of options available for the upcoming Maymester and summer 2021. Starting today, you can begin applying for those trips, along with study abroad options for the fall of 2021. Application deadlines for Maymester and next summer are due by March 1st, and fall applications must be turned in by March 22nd. For much more information on trips being offered in 2021, visit the Study Abroad website and click on the Study Abroad Fair.
Last Tuesday, the Texas Tech Athletics Department announced the resignation of head softball coach Adrian Gregory following an internal investigation and an article in USA Today. Yesterday, an internal report was released from TTU Athletics with the details on the events that led to Gregory's resignation. According to the report, end-of-the-year surveys filled out by athletes in the softball program were evaluated and found to contain several comments that raised red flags within the program. The feedback in the surveys was mixed, but there was enough players that gave negative reviews to raise suspicions with Tech administrators. Athletic Director Kirby Hokut initiated a review of the softball program last spring, and members of the softball team, coaching staff, and support staff were interviewed regarding reported incidents, which, according to USA Today, included allegations that Gregory had physically abused 3 players and 1 former assistant coach. An additional report from USA Today released this morning also detailed reports of players and another coach being baptized in the softball facility here on campus. The combination of the surveys, individual interviews, and final report resulted in Gregory's eventual resignation from her position in the softball program. At this time, Texas Tech Athletics is continuing a search for a replacement head coach for the softball team. The majority of the players on this year's rosters have remained with the program, and a new head coach should be named before the end of the year.
Several Red Raider teams are gearing up for another busy weekend of action, but all of them are hitting the road for their next round of conference matchups. The Texas Tech soccer team is heading north tomorrow to take on the Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. The team is hoping to score its first win this season after a tie in Week 1 and a loss last week to number 9 ranked Kansas. First pitch is scheduled for 7 p.m. and television coverage will be available through Fox Sports Oklahoma. Also tomorrow night, the Red Raider volleyball team will make a stop in Ames, Iowa for their second set of games this fall. Tech is set for 2 games of play against Iowa State at the Hilton Coliseum. The Cyclones and the Red Raiders both started with a win, loss split in their season openers, and Tech hopes to rack up 2 W's this week before continuing on the road. The first game in this week's 2-night matchup begins tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m., followed by a 12:30 p.m. start on Saturday. You can catch the action from both games on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. And on Saturday, the Texas Tech football team hopes to right the ship after a devastating loss to Texas this past weekend. The Red Raiders head to Kansas State in what could be another tough matchup against the Wildcats. The Red Raiders haven't won on the road in Manhattan since 2008, and the Wildcats are hoping to extend their Big 12 win streak after taking down number 3 ranked Oklahoma last week in Norman. Kickoff for Tech versus K-State is set for 2:30 p.m. with TV coverage on Fox Sports 1.
As we mentioned earlier, the Tech campus has seen an increase of in-person events during the last week, and since Monday, more than half of those events have featured one well-known organization. All this week, the Residence Halls Association has hosted a nightly event during their annual Say Hey RHA Week. The daily events have given students a chance to learn more about the group and make connections with others who live in the dorms. On Monday, RHA put on the Monday Melodies event in the Urbanovsky Park Amphitheater. The event featured live karaoke, lip-syncing, and lots of dancing. But as with many things this fall, Say Hey RHA Week is a bit different due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
been very different. I think the biggest change has been the restrictions and the guidelines. We're used to throwing these like elaborate programs where we expect over hundreds of people, and now with the guidelines right now, I think the maximum we can have is 40. But yeah, it's been very different. We always have a contingency for virtual program, but so far we've adjusted and we've had fun.
RHA continued the week-long set of activities with a trivia night on Tuesday, followed by Deaf Bingo last night, an outdoor showing of Ralph Breaks the Internet tomorrow, and a virtual game night on Friday. For more information on all of this week's events, you can find the Residence Halls Association pages on Twitter and Facebook by searching for TTU RHA.
So Kamryn, do you think you'll make it out to any of the RHA events this weekend?
I think they said tonight they were going to show Ralph Breaks the Internet, so I think I'll go see that one.
Pretty good choice. That's all for today's edition for MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.